Pretty close.
Mhm.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Facebook Live. Really appreciate it. I am super excited. Why? Because I've got an amazing individual and a friend of mine. Her name is Isa Herrera. Isa, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I am so excited. Thank you so much, Dr. Nandi, for having me. Can't wait to
Absolutely.
share. Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you who are wondering what we're talking about pelvic health, such an important topic for so many women. And the thing is, women go to doctors, and many are not trained, right? We don't get trained often in pelvic health, and
Hmm.
so I wanted to bring her on because this is what she talks about every day, and she's a best-selling author as well. So I'm straightening out my tie here because I just noticed that my kids pulled my tie down. Sorry about that. But Isa is a pelvic health expert and a best-selling author. She has developed her expertise in diagnosing and treating all the problems that you guys talk about, which is pelvic pain, leaking, and prolapse as well, by helping over 14,000 women since 2005 at her New York City Healing Center. And Isa pioneered the use of integrated modalities like Maya massage, cold laser therapy, sound healing, and Andean. I want to ask you about this energy techniques and evidence-based physical therapy in ways that have never been done. She's also the author of 5 books on the topic of pelvic floor dysfunction. 5. And pain, including the newly released international bestseller Female Pelvic Alchemy. Female Pelvic Alchemy. And her new online school, which is pelvicpainrelief.com, brings all of her expertise to a global audience, incorporating exercising, self-care techniques, and integrative tools to maximize female healing and professional training. Now, after suffering from pelvic floor dysfunction herself, after the birth of her daughter, Isa has made her life's mission to help 1 million women overcome pelvic floor dysfunction. So, Isa, awesome. So tell us more. What happened? And since you said, when you took that journey, how difficult was it to really, if treat yourself and almost fix yourself? Because often you can't get much help.
It's true. And thank you for asking that because when I started this journey, I was actually in physical therapy school. And in physical therapy school, they don't teach you anything about women's health. So here I am. I actually didn't make it to my graduation because my daughter decided to come on the day of my graduation. And I had an amazing birth, but the recovery was very difficult, was very painful, was very long. And every time I went back to my doctor, he would tell me, hey, this is a natural part of healing. You're going to be okay. And I'm like, okay, I'll go home. Then I go back. And I'm like, but listen, I'm still leaking. I'm like wearing diapers. What is going on here?
Wow.
I know. And he's like, you're going to be okay. Everything's going to happen. And the last time I went to see him, I remember this day like it was yesterday. I don't know. I had like an epiphany. I had a moment where I realized that maybe perhaps it was my female intuition, but I knew that there was a way out of it. I just knew that there was a way to heal naturally. And I went and I studied with the top doctors in the world and the country, took all the classes, wrote books, and then I pivoted my entire life. And I'm dedicating my life to women because honestly, no one should go through what I went through. It was pretty horrific.
And I want anybody who's watching to tell us where you're from and what questions you have. And if you have questions, also remember we try to answer them. And if you can share this with your community, this is so important. People don't talk about this nearly enough. And so if you can share it with your community, that's how we get the word out about what's going on. So tell us, when you decided that you have to take control and really change your life, how did you do that? Because really, there are not that many resources, right? When you really want this to happen.
There's actually very little resources. And
Yeah.
what I did was I'm like, I'm going to apply the science. So I apply the science because it's a muscle, right? But it's in an area that's sort of taboo and can be loaded with shame. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I went to the anatomy. I'm like, there's a lot of muscles in here. They have to respond to the way other muscles in the human body respond to. And so I started doing, perineal massage. I started exercising. I started doing a lot of Kegels, which was a big mistake because that really threw me into a tizzy because I thought Kegels were, that was going to be the thing that was going to save me. And my doctor had told me to do Kegels. So I went home. I'm a very good patient. I go home, I do a lot of Kegels, right? And it turned out that I gave myself a crazy spasm, almost, actually ended up in the emergency room with severe pelvic pain. So it's really interesting. All I did was it just came to me. I was like, oh, this is a muscle that needs healing. If I had an injury or scar in a muscle, what would I do? Right? So to me, it was actually very basic once I made the connection.
Yeah. And so what did you do? I'm glad you brought up Kegels. You say Kegels are really bad for you, right?
Mm-hmm. It's not that they can be very bad for you, especially if you're suffering from pelvic pain, sexual pain, low back pain, hip pain. If the pelvic floor muscles are very tight, right? Then why would you want to make them tighter and more restricted? That doesn't even make any sense.
Sure.
You have to open them. You have to create fluidity. You have to create coordination, right? Because these muscles, they love to work with other muscles in the body and other organs in the body, especially the diaphragm, right? So they have to be able to contract and relax. But I think as the only thing that a lot of women know how to do is Kegels, right? So we're constantly doing this, and then we forget that we have to open and be receptive and really do the what I call the reverse Kegel, the relaxation, the releasing. And then once you have this balance, create the power, right? Because we all want the power.
And you said instead of tight, you have to relax. That's because that's what's causing the dysfunction and the pain for you, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And for 30 million women too.
Wow.
One out of
30
three.
million women.
Yeah, in the US alone, and worldwide is much bigger than that. But 30 million women in the US suffer from chronic pelvic pain. And those women are not a candidate for Kegels, right? So if you suffer from vulvodynia or vaginismus, or if you've had a surgery like a hysterectomy or a myomectomy where they remove fibroids, or any kind of scar pain, then the body's already like this, right? It's tight, it's hurting, right? And it's normal as humans to get more tighter, right? So then we have to do the opposite, but we don't do the opposite. We go like this, we close up more, right? But the more you open, the more you release, the more you let go.
And the better relief you'll get from this discomfort. So going back, let's say if you knew what you knew now before you gave birth to your child, I mean, what would you do? What would you do? How would you protect your pelvic floor? And the question also is, how would others that are listening and watching protect their pelvic floors? How can women protect their pelvic floors? And just for those who are joining us, I'm talking with the amazing Isa Herrera. She is a licensed physical therapist and an expert in integrative pelvic floor therapies, and she really is amazing. She's written 5 books. She's an author of 5 books on the topic of pelvic floor dysfunction, including the newly released international bestseller Female Pelvic Alchemy. So, and I was just talking to her about pelvic health and some of the, she had pelvic pain, after a birth of her daughter. And so I said, if you knew what you knew, if you knew then what you know now, what would you do? How would you protect yourself?
The most important thing is, like, what is the expression? Prevention is an ounce of cure. I don't even know the expression is, right? Prevention is an ounce of cure.
An ounce of prevention, right, is a pound of cure. That's exactly right.
That's it. An ounce of prevention is an ounce. Yeah, that's it. And the thing is, I knew nothing, right? So I would continue to pound my body with exercises, to not really listen to the messages that my body was sending, right? So in the prenatal period, when I was pregnant, I was already leaking, right? So my body was already sending me messages. Hey, pay attention, right? Our bodies are very wise. They have a way of sending messages, and your pelvic floor will speak to you very loudly. So I would have definitely, very loudly, I would have corrected my diastasis recti separation. Now that I know that I have one, which is the separation of the 6-pack muscle, because that is huge. 52% of postpartum women have a diastasis recti separation, and that's correlated with pelvic pain, sexual pain, prolapse, back pain, and leaking. So I would have done something very basic, like work on my deep core. I wouldn't have sat so much at work. Sitting is the new smoking for the pelvic floor.
For everything.
For everything. It's the worst thing in the world.
for
The
heart disease, the whole works, you know.
the whole
It's a little
works.
crazy.
And
It's
then
so
when you're
crazy.
sitting like tucked under, right? And the pelvic floor muscles, those bones are the house of the pelvic floor muscles. And you're sitting tucked under, the muscles become tighter. And then you go and you do Kegels and you get more tighter, then you get more dysfunction and you're wondering why your Kegels are not working, right? So
Exactly.
sometimes it's just plain simple body mechanics, like sitting, right? What you do in the bathroom is really critical. I would have never have pushed with urination or defecation. Pushing is the absolute worst thing that we can do, right? Because things should flow out of you easily, right?
That's exactly right. That's
Right?
you're exactly right. And what
Mhm.
about now? There's a in the US, he said there's so many folks who are basically, getting cesarean sections. What do you think about that? How much of a problem is that?
I'm glad that you asked that question, Dr. Nandi, because the thing is, when I had my practice here on Madison Avenue in New York City, tons of women would come in and they would be like, no, I have nothing wrong. I just have cesarean pain. I have scar pain and there's nothing came out of my pelvic floor. So I have the cesarean, right? But the thing with the cesareans is that it's actually worse for the pelvic floor because the abdominal muscles, the fascia of the abdominal muscles and the fascia, and it's like the connective tissue that keeps us glued and holds us together, they love each other, right? So the abdominals, they're not cut during the cesarean, but the connective tissue is. So we have
Wow.
already a system that's been compromised. And we get the constant pressure of the 9 months. So now, and also when the muscles are pulled apart during the cesarean, you almost have like a natural made diastasis recti separation. And then you get scar tissue. And then the abdominal fascia, this connective tissue, is right above the cesarean is about what 2 inches above the pubic bone. So then you also this you're sending a message to the bladder,
Right, right.
right? So then it becomes a big mess and you don't know what's going
It's a
on. And
vicious cycle.
it's a vicious cycle. And the thing with cesarean is that when a woman has a cesarean, there's no help for her, not even at bedside, right? And that's a major surgery. I
Big
would love to,
time.
yeah, I would love to see that change where women get, PT at bedside at the obstetrical, unit at the hospital. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
I mean, I think that there's so many things that women really need to be educated on, and it would be great to get PT at the bedside. I mean, I'll tell you that there's so much misinformation out there, and there are people who even schedule their cesareans. I know you know
I
this,
know.
Sita, but I would just totally not recommend it. What about their bladders, women, and their bladders? What could they do to really tame their bladders, in your opinion?
I think one of the things that happens with women when the bladder has gone crazy and that you can't sleep through the night without urinating or you're going to the bathroom every hour, women cut back their water. It's a really strange thing, but women feel like if they don't drink water, then they're going to leak less and they're going to have less issues with the bathroom. But in essence, you actually have more issues because water is what tames the bladder. It's what
That's right.
keeps it calm, right? It's what keeps it like soft and it doesn't make it it makes it happy, right? But if you
Yes.
if you cut that off, if you cut your water off and then you substitute it with, I don't know, coffee, which is a huge bladder irritant, or you drink some alcohol, wine, or carbonated drinks. Oh, carbonated drinks, especially now that the summer's coming, a lot of women believe that carbonated water is water. No, carbonated water is not water. It's a
No.
bladder irritant. you know
Yeah, because you have to put carbonic acid in it, and so it's
Mhm.
it's it's not the same thing. You're absolutely right. And we'll go back to Kegel. You talked about the fact that you say you don't hate Kegel. What is the perfect Kegel, though, in your opinion?
Oh, the perfect Kegel. The perfect Kegel comes in three parts. The pelvis is neutral. And by the way, there's over 25 Kegels in my online program. I mean, I teach a lot of different kinds of Kegels because Kegels are medicine, right? They're hardcore medicine, and we have to think of them that way. And the perfect Kegel has three parts. You want me to bring out my model?
Sure, please
Yeah,
do.
perfect, perfect. Because I had it here just for this. A Kegel is three things in a neutral pelvis with an exhalation, right? The perineal body, this area here, which is the area where there's a lot of trauma sometimes, you get perineal scars, should move up and in, right? Up and in. The anal area, this anus should contract and wink, and the clitoris should not. there should be a little bit of movement, and that should happen simultaneously as you exhale. But a lot of women do Kegels like this.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, oh, I'm going to use everything in my power. Right? But Kegels are more like, they're fluid, they're soft. You have to have this connection, right? And they involve those three parts. Now, don't get discouraged if you go home tonight and you don't see those three parts. It's okay. The most important thing is to become aware of where you are and then try to incorporate those three parts. And that is the most perfect Kegel. And I don't know. I mean, I've treated over 14,000 women. I've never seen a perfect Kegel. I've never seen a perfect Kegel right off the bat. I mean, it takes practice. It's like everything else, right? You know, it's not like magical healing. There has to be work, and you have to train your muscles the same way if you wanted to run like a marathon or you wanted to play tennis or golf, you would train your muscles, right? So
Correct.
same thing with the pelvic floor. It just requires training, and it requires a self-care discipline. Very important to have a self-care discipline.
And for those of us, those of you who are joining us now, I'm talking with Isa Herrera. She's the founder of www.pelvicpainrelief.com, and she's a licensed physical therapist and an expert in integrative pelvic floor therapies. And she has treated over 14,000 women since 2005, and author of a new book released called Female Pelvic Alchemy. And we're talking about, you know what, we're talking about pelvic health, because lots of folks don't know anything about it. And we've just been talking about the perfect Kegel and women taking control of their pelvic health. And you're an integrative, right? You're an integrative pelvic health specialist. What does that mean for people who've never heard that before? What the heck does that mean?
Well, sometimes with physical therapy, it can be very left brain, right? Everything has to be evidence-based science, and I get that, and I love it. But I also believe that the pelvic floor is highly energized and a very energetic area. And it's the first chakra, right? If you believe in chakra and energy. Okay, good. So the most important thing with that is to understand that emotions can control it. So breath work is important.
Huge.
Meditation is important. Yoga is important, right? A stretching program. But a lot of women, you know, because they're so centrally located, we have to hit them from different areas, and we have to quiet the nervous system. Our nervous systems are on overload. And if you're suffering from leaking, pain, prolapse, then you're probably, you're charged up. So in order to heal, we have to create this new balance in the nervous system. So integrative means doing things like even prayer. If whatever is going to bring you to this point of peace, so that you can quiet the nervous system and then you can heal, whether that's meditation. A lot of people don't like to meditate, but I recommend it. I love
It's
yoga.
huge. I love it.
Yeah,
like
meditation is critical, because if you want to open and release, the diaphragm, this big muscle here, connects to the pelvic floor. So right, if they work together. So when you breathe properly, by the way, diaphragmatic breathing is important, then the pelvic floor muscle also opens and relaxes, right? And you don't have to worry so much about whether you're doing it right.
It becomes natural. It becomes just a part of what you do every single day. Want to say hi to some folks out there. Lorena Tapia is 103 degrees in LA.
Oh,
Lorena,
wow.
come on down to, I'm right here in Michigan. It's 67, only 37 degrees less. And Karen Dimcox says, hi, Callie and Partha. And Isa, awesome. Good morning, sir, from Sanjeev. All these folks all over the world and the countries. You know, we had the Philippines, we have Detroit, we have Australia, everybody involved. This is really an important topic. Lots of people suffer from it. And I'm talking to the amazing Isa Herrera. If you think your community can benefit, please share this with them. You know, we talked about, you talked about this before. We have talked about it, but not on this Facebook Live. What is the pelvic floor digestion connection? How are they connected?
Oh, wow. This is a great question, because a lot of people have the perfect diet. They're taking their probiotic. You know, of course, the microbiome is very connected to the pelvic floor. And you have to, if you want to heal the pelvic floor, you got to heal the gut too. But the thing is, if the pelvic floor muscles is too tight, right? And
Yes.
if you're pushing, then you get a big source of constipation. And so you're eating right, you're getting the fiber, you're doing everything right, and you still can't figure out why you're having a constipation, or you can have a rectocele from too much pushing, right? Because things are not happening. So for the connection is that the pelvic floor muscles again have to release in order for you not to be constipated, and they have to be balanced in order for you not to push and suffer from a pelvic organ prolapse of the rectum called a rectocele. So that is the big connection there.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
It's and people don't know these facts, and that's why we had Isa come on. If you go to our website, pelvicpainrelief.com, she's amazing, and is really bringing all of our expertise now to a global audience to really help them. And we talked about how you can decrease your pelvic pain, how you can really take better control of your pelvic floor, and even even before you have a child. The key is, like you said, you have to be prepared even
Mhm.
before. Great stuff, Isa. I really appreciate it. If you guys again want to look at our new book, it is called Female Pelvic Alchemy, and our website again, pelvicpainrelief.com. Isa, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to share with your community and to invite everyone if they can to the masterclass that I'm having, because I think it's gonna be phenomenal.
Oh yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, the masterclass, I think you have your link there to put up. The masterclass, when I created this masterclass, I wanted to do something different. I want to provide a lot of value, but I wanted to do something like things that people don't normally think about,
Yes,
right? Because then that's what creates the awakening, right? The opening. And so there's 5 steps to happier lady parts. And I was like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create something so that women can have happier lady parts, so women can feel more connected. And I'm going to do it in a way where you can actually do it on the masterclass while you're there. Because I love when people get results really quickly. It's not like when you have to work and you're like, oh my God, when am I going to see results? Well, I'm going to give really actionable stuff so that you can take control really quickly, and almost you're going to learn how to diagnose yourself. I have a whole process of that through a line of questioning, because it's very confusing for women to understand what kind of pelvic floor they have. So they have to bear with that, because otherwise you don't know what to do in the master class. You're going to be confused, right?
that's exactly
So
right.
exactly, right? So the most important thing there is like, well, where do you stand? Do you have a tight pelvic floor? Do you have a weak pelvic floor, or do you have a combination of both, right? Because it's
It's
rare,
not
right?
one size fits all, right? It's not one size fits all.
God, I wish it was like that. It would make my life so much easier. That I could be like, you're in this group and you're in this group, right? But everybody's in the middle. So many shades of gray. And so I think that that's what makes it complex for even clinicians to understand how to diagnose and how to recommend a treatment protocol, because it's this gray area where you're like, oh, they don't fit the picture. So what do we do, right?
Exactly.
What
No,
do we do?
and that's why it's so important to be able to get expertise, because there's
Mm,
really very few people that know how to be able to do this, and how to be able to do this correctly. So
yeah.
absolutely, look at her master class, and she'll really teach you the right way. We just kind of did a surface introduction to this, but really get into a master class. I'm glad you reminded me to be able to get more, and pelvic health, one of
Mhm.
the biggest problems on the planet, because very few people have expertise on this. So again, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and we're looking forward to doing your master class. And but definitely check her out on your website as well. Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
pelvicpainrelief.com. We'll put that on. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
And
Have a
thank you so
wonderful day.
much. Thank you.
Oh,
Big
thank you.
gratitude. Thank you.
Of
All
course.
my love to your wife also for organizing this. She's
Thank
amazing. I
you.
love her.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Of
Thank you.
course. Take care now.